Hi folks, and welcome to the Just Flight F28 Professional version 2, a significant update to one of our most popular airliners in Microsoft Flight Simulator. In this video we'll be highlighting some of the key features that make up this enormous update, all features that will be available as part of a free of charge update to all customers of the F28 Professional on both PC and Xbox. Starting in the cockpit, one of the big ticket items that's included with this update is the UNS-1 flight management system. Located centrally on the aft console within arm's reach of both pilots, our custom coded UNS-1 features the unique interface of the real world unit, plus an advanced feature set including manoeuvre support for holding patterns, direct twos and command heading functions, top descent calculations based on target vertical speed, navigation monitoring, real-time performance information, support for SIDS and stars, a custom nav database that's updatable via a Navigraph subscription, and the ability to import and export flight plans. Our UNS-1 can trace its roots back to our 146 Professional version 2 update, where it was initially introduced into Microsoft Flight Simulator. Since that release, many bug fixes, improvements and new features have been added to the unit, which have now made their way into the F28 Professional. One such new feature is the addition of the tune page. In previous versions of the F28, although the ADF radios were accurately simulated and functional as they were in the real aircraft, we found that the tuning logic didn't really translate very well into Flight Simulator, and it could be a bit fiddly trying to tune in the correct frequency. The tune page gets around this limitation by allowing you to tune the ADF, COM and nav radios through the UNS-1 itself. The frequencies displayed on the UNS-1 will also match the frequencies displayed on the analog radios, allowing you to still use these analog radios for tuning and then just cross-check that frequency with the UNS-1. These latest UNS-1 improvements will also be making their way into a 146 update in the near future. In addition to the UNS-1, the F28 retains its GPS option of navigation. However, in version 2 we have swapped the larger JNS 530 unit for a smaller JNS 430. There are several benefits of this new JNS 430 configuration, including a more accurate GPS placement next to the landing gear lever, which is more accurate to some of the F28s that remain in active service, and it also addresses some feedback we received from you, the community, that you would like to use the GPS in conjunction with the weather radar, as previously the JNS 530 would replace the weather radar when it was fitted. All of this has minimal to no impact on the GPS's functionality, with the JNS 430 and JNS 530 both sharing a very similar advanced feature set, including support for Microsoft Flight Simulator main menu flight plan imports. If, however, you're the type of person who prefers to fly classic airliners as they were initially designed to be, you can still do that too. The JNS 430 and UNS-1 can both be disabled entirely via an option on the EFB, allowing you to navigate using traditional VHF nav and ADF radios. To add to the challenge and authenticity of this classic configuration, we've updated the logic of the altitude alerting system on the captain's main instrument panel. Previously, we simulated this panel as an altitude pre-selector with autopilot coupling, meaning that with the autopilot engaged, the aircraft will automatically capture and level off at the altitude set on this panel. With version 2, we have updated this logic so that this panel only provides altitude alerts when approaching the selected altitude or when deviating from that selected altitude. With no autopilot coupling, this adds a whole new challenge of flying the F28, with the smoothness of the altitude acquisition being entirely controlled by the pilot. To coincide with this new altitude alert functionality, altitude pre-select lights have been added to the main instrument panel, which illuminate when the aircraft is 900 feet from the select altitude or when a deviation of 300 feet has been sensed from that selected altitude. To counteract the loss of the automatic altitude acquisition, we have added the more advanced altitude pre-select controller as a toggleable option on the EFB. This panel adds altitude alerting, altitude arming, altitude hold, and for the first time in the F28, vertical speed controls. The altitude pre-select controller fully integrates with the autopilot, providing automatic altitude acquisition should the correct autopilot modes be selected. Continuing on the theme of new cockpit features, interactive paper checklists have also been added to the clipboards on the cockpit sidewalls. The clipboard can be rotated in and out via a click spot on the top of the clipboard, and the pages of the checklist can be flipped through using click spots on the paper itself. Up to 20 checklists can be displayed here, and you can add your own custom checklists simply by importing PNG images into the necessary folder. More details of this are included in the F28 operation manual. On the right sidewall, we've also now modelled two types of passenger oxygen regulators. There is the previous modern type of regulator that is installed behind the cockpit panels with controls on top of the panel, and a new classic type of regulator which is installed on top of the panel with integrated controls. The two types of regulators will be fitted automatically based on the construction number of the livery selected, and they can also be toggled between via an option on the EFB. Sun visors are another new feature included with this F28 version 2 update. Stored above each pilot, the sun visors can be rotated down and slid along a rail. Their visibility can also be toggled using an option on the EFB. We are also now providing an option to toggle between metric and imperial fuel units on the fuel quantity indicators and the fuel flow indicator. These units of measurement can be toggled between via an option on the EFB. Perhaps the most important feature of all is that we now have animated ashtrays, with audio recorded from the real F28 no less. The only thing missing is the smell of jet fuel and cigarettes in the air to complete that 20th century aviation experience. All of these customizable options within the cockpit brings us ever closer to a truly authentic F28 experience where no two aircraft appear to be the same. In the real world, operators were able to order F28s fresh from the factory with a custom cockpit configuration, meaning that one airline's F28 fleet may have been slightly different from another airline's fleet. As the years passed, airlines sold their F28s, spreading their once homogeneous cockpit configurations to a variety of other airlines, and once those airlines upgraded their F28s with more modern avionics equipment and sold them to new owners, those aircraft were jumbled up even more, leading to airlines that had fleets of F28s that not only had different equipment fitted from the factory, but also had different equipment that were retrofitted by the previous owners. We'd like to think that we are getting to that point now where it can almost feel like that in the simulator, with the amount of customization options we now have in this F28 version 2 update. Now, as we've mentioned EFB options a few times so far, it's probably a good time for us to cover the Just Flight version 3 EFB, which has now been implemented in the F28. The version 3 EFB brings a raft of new features and improvements to the previous EFBs, including a redesigned interface, support for Navigraph en route charts, improved aircraft page data entry, improved SimBooth support, and more. An additional feature that we brought across from our other airliners is boarding and refueling simulation. This allows for realistic simulation of the boarding and deboarding process at the beginning and end of every flight, including several different boarding and refueling speeds ranging from instant to realistic. With the latter selected, you may be waiting up to 20 minutes for the passengers to board a fully laden Mark 4000 variant, but during that time, not only will boarding music be playing in the cabin, but we have also added new passenger boarding and deboarding sounds so you can hear the passengers boarding the aircraft behind you. Users of JSX will be pleased to hear that we have also made the boarding simulation JSX compatible, and we have created updated JSX profiles for each of the F28 variants with this update. The F28 is also fully compatible with JSX passengers. Moving to the aircraft's exterior, we can view the 5 brand new liveries that have been added to the product in version 2. These liveries cover both passenger and military operators, a couple of which are still in operation, private aircraft and popular airlines that we weren't able to add in the original F28 release. This brings the total number of liveries in the product to 38, so there is bound to be something there for everyone. All these liveries include accurately configured external equipment, including high frequency antennas, hush kits and logo lights, all based on extensive research of the respective aircraft. In addition to this extensive new feature list, we have also made the F28 Professional Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 compatible. As we have said in the past, we remain committed to making all of our Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 products compatible with 2024 free of charge. That means if you already own the F28 Professional, you will gain access to it in both simulators at no extra cost, and if you don't own the F28 Professional just yet, you can gain access to it in both simulators via a single purchase. There are so many other smaller changes and improvements that we weren't able to cover in this video, such as the improved fade in and fade out effects of the incandescent lighting, improved TCAS visuals and functionality, improved sound attenuation based on the cockpit door position, improved various aspects of the flight model, and so much more. We highly recommend that you have a read of the Mammoth version 2 changelog to see everything that we've been working on, and we'll be sure to post a link to that in the description box below. An updated F28 Professional Operations Manual, EFB Manual and the UNS1 Operations Manual will be included with this update. Be sure to give those a read so you can get fully up to speed with all of these tantalising new features. As a reminder, the F28 Professional version 2 update is a free of charge update to all customers of the F28 Professional for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 on both PC and Xbox. With all that being said, we hope that you enjoy this version 2 update of the F28 Professional, and we hope you have many successful flights in the aircraft in the future. If you would like to see more updates like this for our aircraft, or if you have any thoughts or suggestions on what we could add in a future update, please let us know in the comment section below. A lot of these new features were suggested by members of the community, so we can promise that your suggestions will be heard and they will be considered for future updates.